third line, towards the end of the line. So we have discussed this principle quite extensively. Hopefully we're getting the point that oir, that although, even if it goes to a tzimzum, we say the oir itself goes to a tzimzum and so forth, Chochmah, because of its intent to stay connected to the source, it retains the qualities of the source, and therefore it is like the source itself. We started off with the phenomenal statement Adam Kadmoin. Kadmoin is, as we said, I doesn't want to repeat the whole thing. Just Kadmoin is altogether beyond Gila, beyond creation. Kadmoin means that which preceded everything, which is there initially, the original thing. And yet, Adam is a creation, and yet we say he has a quality of a Kadmoin. How does he have a quality of a Kadmoin? Because it is connected to that which perceived him in the first place, and therefore he has the qualities of that Kadmoin. And this continues on. It says Chochmah, and then it says close ha'oyer sheba oilemus. The oyer in oilemus. So I'm going to read right here in the third line as we started. Because it's double kume'ein ha'oyer soy shelifnei hatzimtzum. Although it goes to a tzimtzum, it is me'ein. It is of the quality of the oil isof shelifnei hatzimtzum. We explained the effect of the tzimzum. In order that there should be world, there has to be a tzimzum. Even though after the tzimzum there is what's called choze v'heir, that the oil comes back, the oil shelifnei hatzimtzum comes back and is meir, the cholol that's in it after the tzimzum. But there's a very important effect of the fact that in the meantime there was tzimzum. And the important effect is the following. World, any mitzias, has to recognize two states, present and not present. This is what world is. Something that does not have the sense of not being present cannot be part of the world. In the world, everything, it's a creation, which means that there was a time when it was not there. The ois lifnei hatzimtzum does not have this quality whatsoever. It definitely represents the motzoi rishon, and there is no the whole principle that there is a moment where it's not, or it's possible it's not, it doesn't exist. The tzimzum, even though you mamshik the same oil afterwards, but the tzimzum affects this sense that this oil could be removed and it's brought back. So therefore, even if the oil comes back again, the same oil, it retains, it still, the principle that it was not here at some time, at some moment, remains. Therefore, there is a certain novelty with the oil, and thus this oil becomes suitable to be nislavish in kelim. What is the union from kelim? This is what we're going on. Kelim. Explained many times that in order to be masik, in order to grab something, to grasp something, whether it's in seichel or to grab something in gashmis, there's a similarity in this. How do you grab something in gashmis? You grab something in gashmis by going to its boundaries, by going to the place where it is not, and then you can grab it. You go to the table, you can't grab the table from the board. You grab the table from the edge, because there the table begins. Here it's not, here it is. Oh, therefore I can see I'm grabbing something. If it does not have a place, a point of starting, a starting point, then you cannot grab it. This is the prerequisite for the oil to be slavish in keli. Keli means that it can be masig this oil. To be masig, it has to have a sense of where does it start. So even though this is oil shelifnei hatzimtzum, this is oil in soif, nevertheless there is a starting point because during the tzimzum it was removed. So therefore it can now be related to keli. And this is what we're saying, that the oil after the tzimtzum remains the same as me'ein ho in the sof shelifnei hatzimtzum. And now we continue on this third line at the end. The yiker inye hatzimtzum hu, because the principle in of the tzimtzum hu lagabe hakelim, it is with relation to the kelim. This is in order to provide for the kelim. And here there's a whole line of pointers or references, and it says at the end of that line, of the fourth line, the ikir, because I already read it last time, the ikir in hatzimtzum hu k'deishi yizgalu v'yizhava kelim. The principle of the tzimtzum is in order to provide for the kelim to come forth. The kelim should be yizgalu v'yizhava kelim. I don't know if I should go into the Yizgalu v'Yizhavu.
Go into it.
Huh?
Go into it.
Go into it. We were both, we should go into it. The principle with kelim. Kelim are not separate entities. Kelim is the means by which you get the point, you get the oil. And it's important to understand that if the kelim does not fit the oil cannot recognize, cannot relate to the kelim, then you're not getting the oil altogether. Therefore it means that the kelim are inherently present in the oil. There is in the oil this union that it can be mislabish in the kelim. But when the oil is Ayin soy, the kelim element is completely obscured by the Ein Sof element of the oil. The tzimzum provides for the possibility of recognizing, hey, there could be such a thing as a keli. It's galu. And once there could be such a thing as a keli, that provides for his havu. Then you start providing the keli. Because there is an oil that can be mislavish in keli, and that's when you begin to provide the keli to take it. If there is no his galus, if there is no gili, no recognition that such thing as a keli is possible, exists, so then there would be no kelim altogether. This is briefly the scene, and like everything else, we can spend the next 3 days talking about this, but we're not going to do that.
Why not?
Right?
Why not?
והאויר הרי נמשך מאויר אינסוף מהאויר אינסוף שלפני הצמצום. The oil, however, is nimshach from the oil inside shelifnei hatzimtzum. This is where the oil comes from. Behagam, where although sham shachos hu alidei hatzimtzum, Although that it comes through the tzimzum, as a result of the tzimzum, behind. And the Rebbe explains very clearly what it means, alidei tzimzum. It means this: the eifan hamshachas ha'oyer, that the manner in which the oil is nimshach, udavka, it is specifically alidei shetchila hoya tzimzum. The fact that first there was a tzimzum, shehu hisal mus ha'oyer v'hiskalulusi legamre behamoyer. The tzimzum represents a state. Hisal mus ha'oyer, but the oil is concealed, completely obscured, and becomes nichlal, totally in the moyer. No oil. This is how it goes on. I just want to explain these words here. Even though the oil is the original oil that was there before the tzimtzum, but the manner in which it comes through, in which it is provided after the tzimtzum, is affecting the oil itself. The oil after the tzimtzum comes in a manner that the tzimtzum is recognized. That this is oil that came through the tzimtzum. The Mleike, we'll come back. I'll discuss it a little more. The Mleike,
She's almost sort.
yeah, Nichel is kalusa legamre behamoyer, and it becomes incorporated totally in the moyer. What is in it? Is kalusa called legamre behamoyer? The oil, we already discussed this. The oil is representative of moyer. Like we say in the case of the sun, even though here we talk about oil and soil, which is not exactly in that same manner. But to understand oil, in principle, we have to go back to the sun, or the nefesh. The light of the sun is brilliant, is light. And as we learned before, you asked a question, right, yesterday? You asked a question yesterday. That it brings the moyer with it. And that's why it's meir. Something else. In our experience from the light of the sun, we have the sun in a certain place, millions of miles away, and then there is a light that emanates, that journeys from the sun and comes to us. Physically, it appears that the light that illuminates our world is that light that journeyed from the sun. It's not the sun. It's light that was created by the sun, and it travels all that distance. And this is how it physically occurs, that the light is actually hits the object, and this is how we see it. But that light would not have the effect of illumination. Illumination is a completely different, it's a very unique, very specific kind of an effect. This is what's in the Maimer. Now, because it's connected to the Moyer, al-dezehu meir. This is how come it's meir. These are the words very briefly. It doesn't go into it. Al-dezehu meir. What does it mean? What's illumination different than the light hitting an object and enabling us to see it? The principle of illumination versus deflecting light is similar to sight versus touch. Touch also enables us not only, but it compels us to know that there is an object here. And we know the object is there because there's something compelling us to see, to know that the object is there. We've repeated this many times, and I think you got it. We have to understand that the world is a godly creation. Real knowledge is when we sense that this is a godly creation, not that we experience the object itself. What does it mean of a godly creation? The meaning of godly creation is that it has a godly quality. What's a godly quality? It's absolute. It cannot not be. It's there because God wants it. Not because he has to fight, so to speak, for its existence. It has a godly truth to it. It's really a godly creation.
It cannot not be. What does that to do because God wanted to be?
Hold on a second. When you touch the object, that means that up until this moment, when you touched it, it didn't exist. Therefore, it means that its existence is very limited. It's limited to the fact that it occupies the space, and it doesn't let you go through it.
Why did it not exist before you touched it?
Prior to touching it, it's not there.
Why is it not there before?
In your experience.
Oh, in my experience?
Yeah.
It's there, but I just didn't come into
No.
contact with it.
It's not there because you don't know it because it's there. You know it because it has an effect upon you.
I know it because of its effect.
You know it? I may have bitten too much. The whole phenomenon of Chochmah, of Emunah. The Rambam says that the principle of knowing anything is to know that as a first being. What's so important about that? What's so important about this? You have to reflect. We have to engage in all the things that we're learning. Otherwise, we're going to go back to step one. What's so important about this?
Everything which is created has
It gives validity.
Huh?
It gives reality. It gives validity to any event. Otherwise,
What's that validity more than if I touch it?
well, without that, everything's happenstance.
Oh, does it? Okay. Now that we see, we recognize this moment, this validity is not recognized except this is what's called light. Light illuminates the initial the initial truth. The reason you see it is because it's true, not because there's any effect on you. Not because of happenstance. This is the union of light. The light of the sun, as it turns, the energy of the sun, and it hits an object that makes you see, that's still happenstance.
Yeah, that's like a functional.
It's a functional
level.
thing. It's not. You don't see it because that's a reality. You see it because it affects your eyes. But we say that the oil light of the sun has an effect of illumination, moir, meir. Where does the meir element come from? The meir element comes from a different, it's completely different aspect. It's not even the light that journeys from the sun. It is that just as we said what the Rama says, that the first principle is to know that there's a first being. This first being is not dependent on anything. There's a first, the sun, the union of the light by the sun is like a first being. It's what's called mahir behiri be'etzem. It's not light that is manufactured, that comes from someplace. It's behiri be'etzem. This behiri be'etzem element, this is what is meir. This is what makes it has the effect of meir. It illuminates. That means that this is what brings about the reality of the world on a real basis, not on a happenstance basis, like you call it. As we discussed, this is the meaning of the Oyesh and Nivra B'Yem Rishi. The light was created on the first day. There was no sun. That was the real light. That light revealed the reality of the world, not how the world reacts to an energy source.
So the potential here is that there's a Chochmah that is a validation, is a cov that's the source of everything. There's a cov that's the infinite source of all, that makes reality in this world.
The Motzerishi.
Yeah.
Chochmah relates to the Motzerishi. Like I said all the time, Chochmah is connected, say vedavuk to the source. And this is why it sees things from a source perspective.
Just like the sun makes daylight, daytime, day. So
Right.
too, Motzerishi makes reality, it's real world.
Right. All right.
Real light means from the perspective of the source.
Right.
This is what the real
Right.
light.
Right. In our terminology, we said real light. What's the sun? The light of the sun is such. This is our best way of understanding it because this is our reality. Light to the sun is on an equal level as darkness to us. It's not an add-on thing. It's not a manufactured thing.
The light of the sun. I mean, I know it's only a muscle, but it seems so disconnected from. In other words, the sun is revealing the reality of the world, but the sun itself, it seems disconnected from the sun itself is not.
I heard you.
Contain
I heard
reality.
you. I heard you.
know what I'm
I
saying?
heard you.
Just because it's a muscle.
Huh?
Just 'cause
No. It's an accurate motion.
The real nimshal should be that the real etzem is what is emanating the reality of the world.
Yeah, but in the first light tomorrow.
Let's see if we can get into this. Let's see if we can follow this. It is true that the sun is millions of miles away, and then there is light energy that travels and so forth. And it would seem to be in our experience that we see because of that energy. But we say this energy comes from the sun and so forth. There is a much deeper element that's taking place over here. Just as in Chochmah, in the case of Chochmah, they say that in Chochmah what Chochmah reveals is not the object itself, but that such a thing as truth exists. Like we said, the Motzei Rishon, what's Motzei Rishon? I don't see the Motzei Rishon. But because I know that there is a Motzei Rishon, this is why I'm able to understand this. Even though I'm understanding it a much lower level. But what makes it possible for me to understand it is because I know there is a Motzei Rishon.
And I know I believe. It's two different things.
No, it's not two different things. The similar union is poshet in physical sight. This is what the Rebbe says very briefly, doesn't elaborate on it. And it's up to us, either we try to understand or not. Alidei zehu meir. Split alidei zehu meir. The absolute truth. There's a human being and there is lahavdil, the animal. The animals also see. And if we think for one moment we recognize, we will immediately recognize our sight and their sight is not the same thing. What is not the same thing? Their sight begins at the moment of sight. Our sight is beginning, it's way before. It cannot be, we cannot but see. Because it's telling us of its truth. We cannot but see. What is the effect of the sun? This is the point. Yes, indeed, we see because there is light in our world and the light comes. But the reason we, in our intelligence, are accepting this light is because we know that there is a sun. The real luminary, the real light in daytime is not the light that reaches us. It is the fact that there is a sun. That there is the essence of light. This is why we can accept this essential function of light. No? Yes?
No. The whole point of the light having an etzem is that the etzem is where everything is. That is the source of reality. The light is revealing there is such a that exists. There is a source for all this. The sun is not the source for the world.
Sun is revealing that the world is a reality. It's true, it's not the source.
Hashem gave the sun this ability to reveal that there is a reality.
There is a reality. What does it mean there is a reality? That the world is not making itself, or there is something making. That's what the reality.
I'm just saying, it seems to be extraneous, the fact that there is the sun is something that's some kind of third party.
Okay, I invite you to think about it a little more. Maybe I'm going to lose the whole. Okay. Well, let's go back here. The oil is a nimshach actually from the oil itself, before the tzimzum. That is what the oil is. This is the real union of oil. The oil is lifnei tzimzum, because the union of oil is, as we have now tried to point out, and hopefully, this is really extremely subtle. Is that there is the element of Eir Ein Sof. Eir Ein Sof means that I know it not because I grab it by its boundaries, by its limits, but I know it directly. It's what Eir Ein Sof. This is the answer to you. Hopefully, just one word. Emunah is the most powerful knowledge. But it's not called knowledge, because knowledge is when you grab things by its limits. Emunah does not relate to a limit, it goes to Ein Sof. Ein Sof is just as true as a limited as a limited object. But there is no way to take it except through this phenomenal capability of Emunah.
You say Emunah through knowledge?
You're not listening to what I'm saying.
Emunah. Yeah.
Okay, let's leave it.
Why leaving me hanging? I mean,
I explained to you. Emunah knows that which cannot be known with seichel, but it's unreal knowledge.
That means not seichel. Okay.
It knows that which is really true. Seichel knows something which is relatively true.
Okay.
Over here there is no table. Here there is a table. Therefore I know there's a table. Emunah knows it goes to Ein Sof. Okay.
Yeah.
What is this discussion relating to in the mimer? It's relating to the union of the tzimzum and the oyer that comes after it?
Right. And we're saying that the oyer is nimshach from the oyer social lifnei tzimzum. It's the same oyer. This is where it's coming from. Because in fact, that's the definition of oyer. Oyer is sof. Okay, we are 5 lines from the top. Or 6 lines from the top. That although it is nimshach through the tzimzum. What does it mean, through the tzimzum? It means to say this: the oifen hamshachas ha'oyer, that the manner in which the oyer came in nimshach, hu davko al yedei shetchil hoya tzimzum. It is exclusively and specifically only because before that there was a tzimzum. In other words, the oyer that's nimshach afterwards does not completely negate the effect of the tzimtzum. It does not bring you back to the original state. It brings the original oyer, but now it brings it into a place where it is not, where it was not. Alei tzimtzum. Shehu hisamus ha'oyer. What is tzimtzum? Tzimtzum is where the oyer is concealed. V'yiskalaluse legamri b'hamoyer, and it becomes totally incorporated in the moyer. So this is where I will stop. I need to explain this. Yiskalaluse legamri b'hamoyer. That the oyer is totally incorporated and becomes part of the moyer.
Paltiel?
Yeah.
So, in a sense, isn't this point where the oyer is back in the skull in the mo'er, this actually is like an aliyah relative to the oyer Ein Sof itself. Because before the oyer Ein Sof was his galus, it was also completely incorporated in the mo'er. It's like the choshmah that comes before the oyer. Is that true?
Let's first explain this in, and then we'll be able to put this in perspective.
Okay.
It's not a question of higher and lower. Isgalus legamri b'hamoyer means this. Let us. Okay, I have to take the mashal that we have. Let us take the mashal of the host and the guest. But this time, everybody has heard this mashal. And those who didn't, I'm just going to repeat it very quickly. one person invites somebody else to come and join him for dinner. So he is the host and he is the guest. And so we have recognized that as the guest is being served dinner in the host's home, and he's serving him lavishly with all the grandeur that the host has. If at this moment after he had been served the dinner, the host says, "I enjoyed the dinner, I'm leaving." So everybody understand immediately that there is a very big principle that's missing. That's missing. In other words, the presence of the host is of extreme importance in this whole relationship. Now, this presence of the host is present. The host is an individual separate from the guest. He's a full-fledged individual. And by being present does not eliminate that separation. But there is something that emanates from between the two people, because a human being has a certain reality, and there's something emanates from that reality that joins them together. And this is what the host and the guest. This is the significance of this host and guest relationship. You understand that? This is a purely human element because of the fact that the human being is b'tzelem Elokim. There's a phenomenal truth about the human being, a godly truth about the human being. Okay. Now, this truth of the human being that emanates at the point when he invites him and they sit together, it pre-existed. It existed before he invited him and before they sat down together. What changed as a result of the fact that he invited him and they sit together? Hello?
Included the guest.
This is called oyer.
Revelation.
He was aware that the guest became aware of the host.
What existed?
The host allowed him to be
prior.
Okay.
What?
You said this existed
Prior to the host inviting the guest.
Now, what was that existed prior? The reality of the host.
Yeah.
Their relationship.
This whole reality that transpires as they are sitting together existed before. The host was the human being. This human being was a full-fledged human being. This human being was a full-fledged human being. But he was completely contained within their own reality. Within this Kalus Behamoir. He didn't become more of a human being by being invited or by inviting. If he were not a full-fledged human being, his invitation would have no significance. By some people, if a dog invites them, they are thrilled. But this is not what the reality is. This is what human reality is. They come home and the dog jumps on them. Oh, wow, hey, look at this. He loves me. It's stupid.
So now the guest is experiencing reality of the host on a lower level, on the guest on.
No. On a higher level, on the host level. But it's revealed. The oil of the host and from the guest too. It's what's called interhuman relations. It's very real.
certain sweetness.
I'm sorry?
Which accompanies consequently certain sweetness after that. Is some more being.
That's
More,
that
being
depends.
more
That's in
within.
your experience. That's
Within.
that.
Okay.
But what is given, this is pure reality. What's given is pure reality. So we have a mashal for the principle of oyer from an etzem, because a human being, as we always explained, is an etzem. In other words, his presence in the world is real. It's not functional. And this oyer that comes from this human being to this human being, as a result of this invitation, has come through a tzimzum. In other words, there is a means by which they're correlating. He is his host and he is his guest. If there was no tzimzum, if they were just thrown together, there would be no host and no guest.
What do you mean by that?
If there was no such thing as, the Gemara says, Odom shein lebayis ein yod. Every person has to have his own home. There was no such thing as home. Everybody lives in a common home. They're also the same human beings. But that element of the individuality of the person, that element of the earth would not be recognized. It would have no effect. They're still human beings, but that element would not have any effect.
Is the Kaylee aspect?
What?
What don't you think that?
Well,
The contract.
that's what the point is, that this tzimtzum provides for this oil to come in keli. So you can recognize, you have a means to recognize what it is. The whole meaning of the tzimtzum is not that the oil changes. It is that the oil should be able, that kelim come surface and become to focus.
So would it be fair to say in the mashal that the invitation is like the tzimzum and the meal is like the keli? You're not happy with that?
The tzimtzum is when these two people are totally apart and totally individual.
That's the tzimzum?
Yeah.
Say that again. The tzimzum is when they're completely separate, without
Right.
anything.
Without
connecting
anything,
them.
right? You wouldn't think of coming into my home and say, "Listen, I want to join you for dinner."
Uh-huh.
Meaning they don't know each other at all.
Because so that implies that the oyer lifnei tzimtzum, this is the reality that they're actually completely connected in truth.
They are connected, but it's completely concealed.
But it's what?
It's concealed, and it
And
comes
then what
to
is-
revelation when the invitation is issued.
And I'm sorry, I missed that. And what is the invitation?
The invitation is when it's revealed.
It's revealed. So the meal is just an extension of the invitation.
The meal is like the oil Hashem is traveling through the distance. The meal is not the real thing. Because the meal was
So-
a real thing. The host can go leave and he has the meal. And we say
And what is the oir shalifnei hatzimtzum in this muscle?
the reality, the human reality,
Altogether.
altogether. Okay? When you're confused enough, like we explained at the beginning, we are dealing with things that have no boundaries. The only way to understand things is by their limits. We're trying to understand a statement, a principle that has no limits, and this is the only way for us to present it. This is what he says. The hamshachas ho'er adei atzimtzum, the efer hamshachos hu davke al idei shetchil ho'yatzimtzum. And the tzimtzum is hisalmos ho'eves chalusa legamri hamoir. The tzimtzum is where the oil is concealed and is totally incorporated in the moir. So therefore, at that point, there is only the moir. There is no oil.
Why is that tzimzum? To me, that's even like a bigger. Can't say revelation. That's even that's even greater. You don't necessarily the effect if you have the reality itself. How is that tzimzum then?
Tzimtzum applies only to oil. Does not apply to oil. Moir has never been tzimtzum. It's tzimtzum that means like that. Before that, there was the oil moir was begil, and now it's behelim. That's a tzimtzum.
Do we relate to the mar without the r?
No. No, it's only behelim. The oil brings the gili of the moir. The Malay came, for if not for that, if it did not go through the tzimtzum, then this oil would not be of that bechina, of that sense, that has any relationship to words. This will be explained right in the beginning of today's shir. What makes it lefi erech ha'olamus?
Or the carve, we said the carve.
What makes it lefi erech ha'olamus?
Makes what the oil?
Oil.
Yeah. If not for the tzimtzum, if it were not coming through the tzimtzum, then it would not be b'chinas oil lefi erech ha'olamus. What meant lefi erech ha'olamus? Lefi erech ha'olamus is not talking about any particular world. Olamus in general. What's meant lefi erech ha'olamus?
That it was removed and it returned.
Right. And why is that lefi erech ha'olamus? Because that's the definition of worlds.
Time, space, sequential.
The definition of world is
Definition of time.
that there is oilam. The word oilam means that there is helam, the structure. There is and there isn't. That's oilam.
And if we would go back to the muscle of the host again, I'm sorry, maybe you
No,
want me
don't
to
take
push-
me there again.
Okay, good.
We said that the oil that should never be Yom Rishon, the light was created in the first Yom Rishon, was a light that was not lefi erech ha'olamus. That light had no limit. Adam Rishon was able to see with this light misoiv ha'olam atzeifa, from one end of the world to the other. That's not lefi erech ha'olamus. In other words, that oil did not have to come from one place to the other. There was no luminary, there was no source to it. It was light present everywhere. at once and equally. Therefore, that light it was not Lefi Erochim, and this is why it had to be concealed.
That was why it had to be concealed. Why would it have to be concealed?
Because it eliminated worldliness.
He could see too much.
It eliminated the worldliness. And the idea is that it should be world, not that there should be no world. The world was not able to coexist with this light. In the world.
When it says he could see from one end of the world to the other, that meant really there was no world.
What?
Just what Baruch said, that he was seeing from one end of the world to the other, showing on there was some kind of world set situation.
If you see from one end of the world to the other, there is that you don't recognize the limitations.
Right. And that was a problem?
And that was a problem because you eliminate worldliness.
It was like when we talk about how sight shows you everything at the same time, but in his case it showed mamish, everything. There was nothing differentiated. Is that what it means?
Yes. I would really like you to think a little bit.
I'm trying.
We don't see that if the light is just a light without a luminary and illuminates the entire existence at once without coming from one place to the other, it's not worldly. That world cannot deal with it.
Oh, sure, it's not.
Okay,
worldly.
that's it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We said even a more practical thing. We said that there was this boy that was born who knew the whole Torah. He learned the Torah in Gan Eden, and he came to the world and he knew the whole Torah. Remember that story? So it was a tragic thing. What's so tragic about it? He knows the whole Torah. He knows it, but his knowledge does not relate to the worldly knowledge. From 1% he doesn't know it. In the world, knowledge is only that which you have learned. If you get something without the process of acquiring it, you don't have it. This is how the world is. This is what world is. Everything has time and space. We can go on, but I think that's sufficient at this moment, right? It's clear.
But it's not clear. So how can the R have this paradox in it? On one hand, we're saying that the tzimzum, it goes back and then it's revealed, which allows it to be the world, just like being born, when there's a time when it's there and not there. How can this very same all create the realization of something which is bare asking, which is always there?
Well, what, Ayin?
How the very same all, which we just described, that goes back to the ma'or, and this birthing process allows it to be l'fiach olamos, a time when it's here and not here. How can this very same R paradoxically create an awareness that the of the Eibishter, something which is
okay. All right. So this is what we are struggling with for 3 weeks now. And the point is, yes, indeed, it's a paradox. The principle in this paradox is that even though it becomes oil and it's nimshach to the tzimzum, and there is an element that it isn't here and then it is here, but even after this whole process, it relates you and it tells you, you know where I'm coming from. That's what I'm talking to you about, not about me. And therefore, the projection, what you are really realizing is where it's coming from, not what it is. This is why it stays even from oil and the oil shelifnei atzimtzum. Coming back to our Baruch, to our host and guest situation. After the host serves the guest his lavish meal, I have had in situation, but somebody said, he gave me the meal, so what's wrong? When the host leaves, we said when the host leaves, the guest cannot go back and to eat the meal. Right? That's generally the human reaction. It's a complete, it's anticlimactic. Because if he continues to eat the meal, means that he doesn't have the human sense what this was all about. We all know that it would make no difference to the cat whether he is still there or not. To the human being, it makes all the difference. To a human being, like you said yesterday, that it makes all the difference. If you are sitting at a table at a wedding, and there's food galore, there's no limit, you're not infringing anything, but you are not an invited guest, and the man next to you is an invited guest, you don't feel comfortable. And the food doesn't really go into you. You feel less than a full-fledged human being. Why not? It's good food. This is the meaning that it comes from the source. The oil always goes back in relation to the source. I'm not giving you what I have. I'm giving you the host's presence.
It's a little bit of that light from the first day.
That's right. Exactly right. But now it comes through the tzimzum. Now it comes in a manner that the world can deal with it. Because it's coming from the sun. There's a luminary, there's a source where it's coming from. Even though the light itself is phenomenal. I can't really understand, but nevertheless, it does not negate the worldliness. Because it's in one place, it's not there. Okay, let's go. Should we consider this? Okay.
To remain on this call, press 1.
Oh, look at this. All right, this is it for today. So we are on the line that begins with the word legamri, and we are at the end of that line. Legama hakach. It's a ecological base of stuff. So now it's a tzimzum, and we'll restart tomorrow. We mamshech from the source tomorrow, mitzvah Shem, in the morning.
Yeah.